6-month-old baby stops moving, suddenly. Then the dog does this, leaving everyone speechless. It was an autumn morning when the first rays of sunshine gently filtered through the curtains of Michael's room, illuminating his crib and his devoted companion Buddy, a golden-coated golden retriever who rested by his side. The dog kept his watchful eyes fixed on the little 6-month-old baby, as if guarding a precious treasure. The room, painted in soft shades of blue and white, was filled with the calming sound of a star mobile spinning above the crib, blending with Michael's even breathing. Since the baby's arrival, Buddy had established his own routine, lying down near the crib, alternating between light naps and periods of attentive vigilance. The bond between the dog and the baby intrigued everyone. When Michael smiled, Buddy would wag his tail in response. When he cried, the golden would move closer, as if wanting to offer comfort. It was a connection that transcended the ordinary, a secret language understood only by the two of them. Yet on that particular morning, something was about to change drastically for the family. Anna and Charles, Michael's young parents, had grand dreams for their little treasure. Amid bottles and diapers, they envisioned a future filled with achievements and discoveries for their son. The couple had spent hours decorating the baby's room, choosing every detail with love. From the wallpaper adorned with tiny airplanes to the soft rug where Michael made his first attempts to roll over on his own, Buddy's presence completed this picture-perfect family scene. The golden retriever, who had lived with them for 5 years, had adapted to the role of guardian with surprising devotion. Anna often remarked to Charles how Buddy seemed to understand his mission, as if he had been appointed by some higher power to protect Michael. During the evenings, as they rocked the baby to sleep, Anna and Charles whispered their dreams. They imagined Michael's first steps, his first words, and his first day at school. Charles was already planning to teach his son how to play catch in the backyard, while Anna envisioned the bedtime stories she would tell him. There was something magical in the air as they spoke about these future moments. In their hearts, they nurtured the deep desire to raise Michael in an environment full of love and security. They wanted him to grow up strong, healthy, and happy, surrounded by family affection and the unconditional loyalty of Buddy. And the dog, for his part, seemed to share those same hopes, showing a dedication that went far beyond mere animal instinct, as if he understood the importance of his presence in that small family's life. The tranquility of that morning was abruptly interrupted when Anna entered Michael's room for another diaper change. The baby, who normally wriggled and smiled at the sight of his mother, lay motionless in his crib. At first, she thought he was sound asleep, but his eyes were open, fixed on the ceiling. Anna's heart raced as she tried tickling her son's little feet, a morning ritual that always elicited delightful laughter. This time, however, there was no response. Michael remained still, as if lost in a distant state of contemplation. Buddy, who had been resting in the corner of the room, suddenly lifted his head, his ears pricked in alert. Charles, come here quickly!" Anna cried out, her voice trembling as she tried to remain calm. Her husband rushed in, still adjusting his work shirt. Seeing the panic on his wife's face, he hesitantly approached the crib. The air in the room seemed to have grown heavier, laden with palpable tension. Buddy rose and moved toward the crib, his behavior changing dramatically. The dog, who had always maintained a calm demeanor, began to emit a low, almost mournful sound. His eyes alternated between Michael and his parents, as if trying to communicate something beyond human understanding. Charles carefully lifted Michael into his arms, his cautious movements betraying the fear he felt. The baby, normally full of energy and smiles, remained like a small statue in his embrace. His blue eyes, reminiscent of his mother's, stayed fixed and distant, as if contemplating something invisible to the adults. Panic began to take over the room. With trembling hands, Anna grabbed the phone and dialed the pediatrician as silent tears streamed down her face. Charles paced back and forth in the room, murmuring comforting words to Michael, though his voice betrayed his own anguish. The sunlight, which had once felt so welcoming, now cast unsettling shadows in the corners of the room. The Star Mobile continued its gentle spin, creating a surreal contrast with the mounting tension. Time seemed to drag on, each second weighing as if it were an hour while they waited for any sign of change. Buddy remained ever vigilant, a silent anchor amid the emotional chaos. The golden retriever positioned himself by the crib, keeping an unwavering guard that seemed to transcend ordinary animal instinct. There was something in his eyes, a profound understanding that suggested he knew more about the situation than anyone could imagine. The room, once a sanctuary of peace and joy, had transformed into an epicenter of worry and fear. The wallpaper with tiny airplanes, once chosen with so much care, now seemed to mock the dreams and plans that Anna and Charles had woven for the future. The harsh reality of seeing their son so vulnerable began to weigh on their shoulders, bringing with it unanswerable questions and unnamed fears. Outside, the world continued its normal course, oblivious to the drama unfolding within those walls. But for that family, time had frozen the moment when Michael stopped moving, marking the beginning of a journey that would test their faith, love, and hope in ways they had never imagined. In those brief moments, Anna felt her heart pounding as she watched Michael in absolute silence. Buddy, sensitive to the subtle change in the atmosphere, cautiously approached, emitting a soft growl that echoed between the slowly spinning mobile and the held breaths of his parents. The once color-filled room had transformed into a territory of unease. Anna's trembling hands moved over her son's body, making small gestures that usually sparked laughter and movement. Nothing happened. Michael remained motionless, his blue eyes fixed on an imaginary point, as if connected to another realm. Feeling the growing tension, Charles approached the crib hesitantly. His usually steady fingers trembled slightly as he reached for his son. The gentle touch elicited no reaction. Michael continued in his enigmatic state, defying all medical and emotional understanding. Buddy, his golden coat standing out against the blue-toned room, stayed close by, alternating his gaze between Michael and his parents. There was something in his posture that went beyond typical canine behavior, a nearly mystical vigilance, as if he comprehended a secret that eluded the anxious eyes of Anna and Charles. The atmosphere thickened, charged with an inexplicable energy. External sounds seemed distant, muffled by the tension that filled every inch of that intimate space. Anna took a deep breath, fighting to contain the panic threatening to consume her, while Charles whispered words of comfort that sounded more like attempts to reassure himself. The Star Mobile kept turning gently, its every rotation marking seemingly endless seconds of anguish. A surreal scene where the delicate movement of stars contrasted starkly with the baby's stillness. Then, Buddy performed an action that instantly captured both Anna's and Charles's attention. His body lowered slightly as he drew near to Michael with an almost reverential concentration. A low murmur escaped his throat, not out of pain or fear, but something that seemed to carry a secret communication, an incomprehensible code meant only for humans. The energy in the room shifted subtly, as if an invisible force had begun to weave imperceptible connections, transforming that moment of sheer terror into one that straddled the realms of science and mysticism. Buddy stayed close, his eyes locked on Michael with an intensity that defied rational explanation. Tears streamed silently down Anna's face, mingling fear, love, and an inexplicable sense that something extraordinary was about to occur. Charles stood by, paralyzed, his eyes flitting between his motionless son and the vigilant dog. In that suspended moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the exact moment when the inexplicable would reveal itself. Amid the growing tension, Anna recalled a story her grandmother had once told, a narrative that had been kept as a secret for generations. It was a near mythical tale about animals' extraordinary ability to sense human troubles, to connect with vulnerable beings in ways that transcended scientific understanding. The memory came vividly to her, a Sunday afternoon at her grandmother's house when Grandma Claire, with her hands marked by time, recounted tales of inexplicable cures involving animals. Her soft, ancient voice described instances where dogs, cats, and even horses seemed to possess a nearly supernatural perception of diseases and emotional states. In that moment, watching Michael lie motionless and Buddy in his unusual behavior, Anna felt a shiver run down her spine. Her grandmother's story took on a palpable reality. It was as if the universe was orchestrating something beyond human comprehension, weaving an invisible web of connections that defied common logic. Buddy's now intense, focused gaze seemed to confirm this mysterious dimension. His movements were no longer those of a mere pet, but of a being on an incomprehensible mission. There was an air of knowledge in his posture, a silent understanding that eluded the anxious eyes of Anna and Charles. Grandma Claire's words echoed in her mind. Some animals see beyond what our eyes can grasp, dear. They sense energies, illnesses, and emotions that we often ignore. In that moment, those words took on a haunting, yet comforting, materiality. The revelation was not merely a memory, but a portent. Anna understood on an almost intuitive level that Buddy was no mere bystander. He was about to play a crucial role in this story, one that went beyond physical protection and ventured into the realm of the inexplicable. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear, hope, and an almost ancient curiosity. What did that dog know? What mysterious connection bound him to Michael? Questions piled up, creating an atmosphere of anticipation that seemed to vibrate through the walls, the furniture, and even the very air. The revelation was imminent, and Anna knew, with a certainty beyond reason, that nothing would ever be the same again. Anna and Charles plunged into a frantic investigation to discover what was happening with Michael. The early days were marked by an intense sequence of medical consultations, each one carrying renewed hope and mounting anguish. Michael's pediatrician, Dr. Robert, conducted a series of meticulous tests. His serious expression oscillated between professional concern and genuine unease. The initial results revealed no clear abnormalities, which only deepened the family's tension. Specialists from various fields were consulted: neurologists, pediatricians, and even doctors from hospitals renowned for handling rare cases. Each new professional brought a mix of expectation and mystery, fueling Anna and Charles's hope. Through it all, Buddy remained by the baby's side without fail. His presence was more than mere companionship. It felt like an almost mystical protection. The golden retriever never left Michael's side, keeping a vigilance that surpassed the usual behavior of a pet. The doctors conducted increasingly complex tests. Magnetic resonance imaging, electroencephalograms, and detailed blood examinations became part of the family's routine. Michael was shuttled from one clinic to another, his tiny body subjected to procedures that left Anna and Charles emotionally drained. Grandma Claire offered a different perspective. With her traditional wisdom, she suggested that something beyond the realm of science might be at work. Her stories of inexplicable cures and mystical connections between animals and children began to take on new significance in family discussions. Even the neighbors got involved. Stories of similar cases circulated among them, creating a network of solidarity and anticipation. Every new piece of information was received with a mix of hope and caution, nurturing the collective desire to understand the mystery surrounding Michael. Buddy seemed to grasp something that humans could not perceive. His behavior held a secret, a silent communication with the baby that defied any scientific explanation. The way the dog looked at Michael carried an intensity that went far beyond normal understanding. Family life was completely transformed. Medical appointments, long hours in hospital corridors, and sleepless nights became the new normal. Anna and Charles struggled to hold on to hope, feeding each other comforting words and unwavering faith. As the medical investigation progressed, a different energy settled over the family, a sense that a profound mystery was enveloping them, preparing them for a revelation that would change their lives forever. Grandma Claire arrived at Anna and Charles's home, bringing more than her customary fruit pie. Her eyes, filled with ancestral wisdom, observed Michael with a depth that transcended conventional medical understanding. Seated in the armchair near the crib, where Buddy continued his silent watch, she began sharing stories that straddled the line between the real and the mystical. "You know," she whispered, "that sometimes the answers don't come from laboratories or doctors." Her trembling hand lightly caressed Anna's, offering a comfort that surpassed words. Tales of inexplicable cures from her hometown began to flow. narratives about children who overcame seemingly impossible medical conditions through invisible connections. At that moment, a neighbor named Mary, who had heard rumors about Michael's condition, decided to visit the family. She brought with her a story about her own cat, which had once exhibited strange behaviors before saving her son from a severe illness. Her eyes sparkled as she recounted every detail, as if reliving the transformative experience. The atmosphere shifted subtly. Buddy, ever alert, alternated his gaze between the adults and Michael, as if absorbing every word. His body, initially relaxed, remained in a constant state of alert, a presence that seemed to condense mystery and protection. Mary described her cat's case in detail, how the feline's behavior had completely changed, staying constantly by her son's side, performing actions that the doctors at the time found inexplicable. Sometimes, she said, healing comes from places we least expect. Grandma Claire nodded in agreement, her eyes fixed on Michael. She began to speak of ancient family traditions, stories passed down through generations about animals with healing and protective powers beyond human comprehension. Her words wove a narrative that blended scientific respect with a deeper, more spiritual understanding of life. That afternoon became a time of sharing and hope. Initially skeptical, Anna and Charles began to feel a different energy fill the room. Buddy continued his vigilant watch, as if each story was another piece of a complex puzzle that only he seemed to understand. The narratives intertwined, creating a web of possibilities and hopes. Michael's immobility, once solely a cause for despair, began to take on the contours of a mystery that defied conventional medical explanation. It was as if ancient knowledge was on the brink of revelation, with Buddy as its silent messenger. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the room, Michael remained still, his eyes fixed on an unseen point, while around him a tapestry of stories, hopes, and mysteries slowly took shape, preparing the stage for something truly extraordinary. The inner turmoil of Anna and Charles intensified with each day that passed without concrete answers about Michael's state. Uncertainty eroded their emotions, turning what were once moments of pure joy into periods of dense anguish and fear. Anna spent hours watching Michael, her trembling hands searching over her son's delicate body for any sign of movement. Her heart oscillated between the hope of a miraculous recovery and the terror of an irreversible tragedy. Where once her eyes shone with maternal pride, now they revealed a deep vulnerability, streaked with silent tears that flowed freely. Charles struggled to maintain an appearance of strength, yet inside, his emotional resolve crumbled. As a father, he felt utterly powerless in the face of the situation. Sleepless nights transformed him, his movements betraying a mix of physical and emotional exhaustion. Each medical consultation was a new hope that soon disintegrated before the inexplicable condition of Michael. The family's routine had become a labyrinth of uncertainties. Conversations that were once light and carefree were now punctuated by heavy pauses filled with tension. Whispers exchanged between Anna and Charles revealed their mutual fears over the possible causes and consequences of their son's condition. Buddy remained an enigmatic presence in this scenario. His behavior, alternately protective and seemingly aware of a greater mystery, added another layer of emotional complexity to the situation. The dog moved between Michael and his parents with a sensitivity that transcended ordinary pet behavior. The discussions between the couple grew more frequent, not out of disagreement, but under the extreme pressure of the moment. Each processed the trauma in their own way. Anna delved into endless searches for medical information, while Charles tried to maintain a rational facade that barely concealed his inner despair. The family, once brimming with dreams for Michael, was now engulfed by an atmosphere of suspense and suffering. Future plans were replaced by a daily struggle for emotional survival, where every second presented a new challenge of endurance and hope. The weight of parental responsibility had never been so overwhelming. Anna and Charles felt both fragile and resilient, navigating an ocean of contradictory emotions that challenged them with every breath. The connection between Michael and Buddy seemed to be the only element keeping a spark of hope alive in that atmosphere of profound uncertainty. The dog continued his role as a silent guardian, as if holding the key to a mystery that could change the fate of this family. While the outside world maintained its normal pace, that family was suspended in a moment of hope and despair, waiting for the slightest sign of change in Michael's state, a sign that could turn their anguish into the promise of healing and renewal. Then, as twilight softly filtered through the curtains, Buddy made a gesture that seemed to freeze time for Anna and Charles. With an almost mystical delicacy, the dog slowly approached the crib, his movements deliberate and filled with an intention that conveyed something far beyond human comprehension. Buddy's deep, wise eyes fixed on the motionless baby, not with a typical animal's gaze, but with an intensity that spoke of an unspoken communication. His breathing was measured, his muscles tense, as if he were about to perform something truly extraordinary. Suddenly, Buddy tilted his head near the crib and emitted a low sound, somewhere between a whine and a canine whisper. It was as if he were speaking a secret language, a code shared only between him and the still baby. Anna and Charles watched, paralyzed, their breaths held in anticipation of the mystery unfolding. In that indescribably tense moment, the room, once filled with silence and worry, seemed to vibrate with an energy that defied explanation. Buddy stayed close to Michael, his golden fur softly glowing in the evening light, creating an image that could have come straight out of a film about supernatural connections. Then, something truly astonishing happened. With a smooth, deliberate movement, the dog lightly touched Michael's little body with his muzzle. It wasn't just any touch. It carried an energy that seemed almost healing, a silent communication that transcended the physical world. At that very moment, as if responding to an invisible call, Michael began to stir. First, a finger moved, then a hand, and finally his entire little body showed signs of life. The baby's eyes, which had been fixed on emptiness, now moved and shone with renewed light. Anna let out a cry, a mix of surprise, joy, and relief. Charles, equally moved, felt tears stream down his face. Buddy, for his part, remained composed, as if this moment were simply the natural fulfillment of a long-established mission. The scene was surreal, a dog seemingly reviving a baby through an inexplicable mystery. The connection between Buddy and Michael transcended scientific understanding, revealing a bond that spoke directly to the soul, something that no medical exam could ever fully explain. In that magical moment, it was evident that Buddy was not merely a pet but a guardian with powers extending far beyond the physical realm. His action had completely transformed the destiny of the family, restoring not only movement to Michael, but also the hope that had been lost during days filled with anguish and fear. The evening light bathed the room, creating an atmosphere of renewal and miracle. The Star Mobile continued its gentle rotation, as if silently celebrating the reconnection and rebirth. Anna and Charles embraced, their bodies trembling with emotion, while Buddy remained at the crib, vigilant and serene, like a guardian who had just fulfilled his most important mission. A special silence filled the space, laden with an energy of healing and love. Michael, now moving softly, seemed to be reborn before the astonished and tearful eyes of his parents, rescued by a force far beyond human understanding. The room exploded in a torrent of intense emotions. Anna's cry of surprise mixed with joy and relief, her trembling hands covering her mouth as she watched Michael move for the first time after days of immobility. Charles, equally overwhelmed, shed tears as his eyes alternated between his son and Buddy, a blend of disbelief and gratitude. The golden retriever stayed close to the crib, his serene posture contrasting with the emotional whirlwind around him. He seemed fully aware of the miracle he had just performed, without any hint of excitement or surprise. His golden eyes followed Michael's every move, like a guardian who had just completed his most important mission. The transformation was instantaneous. Michael, once a small, motionless statue, now moved gently, his tiny fingers opening and closing, his eyes glowing with a renewed zest for life. The baby seemed to awaken from a deep sleep, as if returning from a mysterious journey to which no one had been invited. Anna embraced Charles as both trembled with emotion. Their labored breaths mingled with soft sobs of relief, creating a symphony of feelings that filled every corner of the room. Buddy remained by the crib, his presence now more transcendent than ever, no longer just a pet, but the hero who had brought their baby back to life. The doctors, who had brought so many uncertainties, in recent weeks would soon be utterly perplexed. How could one explain such a sudden recovery? What mysterious force had Buddy unleashed? Questions floated in the air, unanswered yet filled with the certainty that something extraordinary had occurred. The soft evening light entered gently through the window, creating a nearly cinematic ambiance. The Star Mobile spun quietly, as if silently celebrating that moment of rebirth. Michael, now fully awake, began to emit soft sounds, a tentative babble reconnecting him with the world. Buddy remained at the crib, his mission accomplished, yet his watch unceasing. His deep, wise eyes seemed to guard secrets that no human could ever fully comprehend. He was more than a dog, a guardian, a protector who had done far more than merely be present. Anna and Charles exchanged looks laden with gratitude that words could never express. Buddy wasn't just a pet. He was a cherished member of the family, a being with a healing and protective power that transcended any scientific explanation. The family's dynamic was transformed. Michael's recovery brought a renewal that went beyond the limits of traditional medicine, revealing a deep and almost mystical connection between the golden retriever and the child. The home, once shrouded in tension and fear, now breathed hope and gratitude. Michael began to move with vigor again, his eyes sparkling with a renewed energy that moved everyone. Buddy continued his silent watch, now recognized as the hero who had returned life to the little one. Anna and Charles rediscovered the joy of having a healthy child. Every movement Michael made was celebrated as a miracle, every smile a victory against the mystery that had tormented them. The couple came to see Buddy not just as a pet, but as an essential family member, a spiritual guardian capable of intervening in the most critical moments. Family routines were redefined. What once were appointments filled with dread turned into moments of monitoring and celebration of Michael's development. Even the initially skeptical doctors now regarded the case as a profound mystery that defied all conventional explanations. Grandma Claire saw in the story the vindication of her old tales about supernatural connections. Her narratives of animal wisdom and inexplicable powers gained new credibility. To her, Buddy was living proof that forces beyond the physical realm could intervene at the most crucial times. Neighbors and friends began to view Michael and Buddy as something extraordinary. Stories about the golden retriever spread, creating an aura of respect and admiration. The dog, once considered an ordinary animal, was now seen as an extraordinary being, capable of performing the inexplicable. The house took on a new energy. The sounds of Michael's laughter, Buddy's cheerful barks, and Anna and Charles's gentle whispers wove together a symphony of love and gratitude. The room, once marked by a sepulchral silence, now overflowed with life, movement, and hope. Charles often joked that Buddy deserved an honorary medical degree, while Anna clutched him with tearful thanks for the miracle. Michael, oblivious to the magnitude of what had occurred, continued his journey of growth, protected by the infinite love of his family and his golden guardian. The story of Michael and Buddy became more than just a family tale. It stood as a powerful testimony to the inexplicable connections that can exist between humans and animals, a reminder of the transformative power of love and hope in overcoming even the most challenging moments. At the heart of that family, Buddy was not merely a dog. He was a hero, a protector, a being with powers that went far beyond human understanding, a guardian who had restored not only movement to Michael, but also the hope, joy, and faith of an entire family. The story of Buddy was not just an account of canine heroism. It symbolized the profound capacity for connection and protection that animals can develop. The golden retriever had proven that his role was much more than that of a simple pet, emerging as a spiritual guardian capable of intervening in critical moments. The message was clear: share stories like this. Record, tell, and spread narratives that demonstrate the unconditional love and inexplicable powers of animals. Each story can awaken in someone the understanding that there are ways of care and protection beyond what our eyes can see or our science can explain. The final message is one of hope. Believe in the miracles that love can accomplish. especially when that love comes from a furry, loyal heart completely dedicated to you.